Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
And I'm Ginny Oliva Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you'll hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Soul Rising.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Today, we're going to be talking about a Buddhist philosophy. There's no actual name for it. It's just 3 questions to ask yourself. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Are you considering how your words and actions are affecting others? Or do you feel like, well, somebody's got to say it,
Right.
why not me? Right? Like, they need to know. They need to know this.
If I'm not going to be truthful with them, no one is. And
Exactly.
I'm just going to be brutally honest.
And, you know, this other part of this is like, do you feel like you always have to have an opinion to every single world issue? Every time you flip open your phone and you find out the next situation, tragedy, storyline, whatever, do you feel like you have to
Jump
have an
in.
opinion and jump into the conversation?
It's almost, it feels like it's become something, which is why I love so much that you wrote a blog on this and that you did write a blog on this, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. And now we're digging into it because it feels like it's almost our way to connect with each other. How can we jump in and put gasoline on a fire, talk about some insane situation that's happening? And also, I need to feel good about myself, and what I'm saying matters so much. So I'm going to make sure you hear it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, and I don't
on a
care.
soapbox.
I don't care how it affects anybody because they need to hear it. And some
Hear
things definitely need to be said. Don't get us wrong. We have voices, right? Like we are given voices, we're given brains, we're given the ability to communicate, and we are living in a time when to not speak up sometimes can do more detriment.
Absolutely.
Can be worse.
However, I think right. I think
Is
we
it
also,
however?
yeah. I think we also live in a time where every single one of us has the ability, whether it be through social media, whatever the channel might be, we've had this sense of
Entitlement.
and you're going to hear what I have to say on my Facebook post or my Instagram post, whatever it might be. And also, I'm going to just come at it with no thought because you need to hear what I'm going to say.
And everybody's an expert. Everybody's an expert.
Yes,
You
went
see
to
a
the
post, right?
University of Facebook knowledge.
Yeah, and we take it at face value and we believe it. We believe what we're seeing because so-and-so, whoever that so-and-so is that you respect, admire, and maybe on a past situation has been quote unquote right or has made a lot of sense and you've agreed and it's been good. But maybe this next thing, you're just agreeing because you like that person. And you're not really thinking, wait a minute,
For
is
yourself.
that true for me? Is that true? You know, and that's where the first question of this Buddhist philosophy comes in. Is it true? Is it true? Very often when I'm going through this, yes, I can say it's true. And I don't always check what I say through this filter. I wish I did more often.
I need to a little more.
But is it true? Typically it's true for me. If I feel like I need to say something, typically it's true for me.
Right.
Is it kind? I worked on that skill for a long time to be able to say what needs to be said and to say it with kindness and with compassion and with grace and love and all that jazz.
Yes.
That is a skill to be honed. And I think that I've done that through my recovery work, working with other women. I try to phrase things in a way that they're going to be able to hear it. So like, am I saying things just because I need to say it or they need to know? Or am I saying it through the lens and the filter of how are they going to best hear it? Because what's the point of saying something if they're going to get defensive?
Exactly.
If they're not going to be able to hear it?
Are we saying something from a place of having it be beneficial and helpful to that person, or is it beneficial and helpful to me?
Yes. So
Yeah.
we're functioning from a place of self-centeredness and selfishness. I have to get this off my chest without thinking about how the other person.
How's it going to feel when I finally unleash on you? I'm going to feel better.
I'm going to feel better momentarily, right? Usually the unleashing or the spouting off at the mouth and not caring what anybody thinks. And if it's nasty or mean, it's usually going to come back to haunt you at some point. So
Absolutely.
Forever. But are you really thinking about how this is affecting other people? If you're looking to really make a change out in the world,
Which is why we're here doing this to begin with.
which is why you feel the need to voice your opinion,
Yes.
right? Because I feel like I want to affect change in a positive way, and I want to bring some healing, and I want this situation to be over and to be better. I don't think many of us are out there saying things with the intention to make it worse. There are definitely some problem starters, right? There are people who are troublemakers. They're looking to assign. There are people like that. I tend to lean on the side of believing that people do have good hearts. I have to believe that if I want to continue getting up every day,
Right.
getting dressed and going out in the world.
Absolutely.
So if you're intending to do that, if you're trying to make a positive influence on the world, it would behoove you to consider how what you're saying is affecting others.
Right. Not just how it's going to feel for you to release it, but how is it going to help build anything positive in your environment or in the situation? Is it going to help build or change this situation for the person you're handing it to?
What's your motive?
Build something. What's your motive? Exactly. You're trying to build something better, or are you just trying to feel more powerful in unleashing words on someone?
Am I trying to tell you how it is because I'm right and you're wrong? Now, listen, being right, like, feels really good.
It does. Especially when someone's like, you're wrong. And then you go through the whole process of, oh, really? I'm going to prove it to you that I'm right. And then you do so. There's almost this sense of victory.
And there's a chemical release. We talk so much. If you've listened to any of our shows,
Yes.
If you haven't, go back and check out season 1. There's a lot of good stuff in there about how everything that we do, everything as human beings, is driven by chemicals.
Yes.
Everything. So setting off that ego is going to drop some kind of adrenaline or dopamine or whatever it is.
Yes.
And we like that and we're addicted to it. And social media and everybody being experts and being able to, just say whatever you want is really taking advantage. It's really a way for powers that be. We have like a whole episode on this, by the way.
Yes.
They've tapped into that addictive piece. And
From just about every aspect.
yeah. So when we're trying to prove ourselves, right? Because the majority of the time when I'm saying something at the onset, like my initial response is I want to be right. And I'm going to just show you how it is. And, if I can run it through that check of, is it true? Okay, maybe. Is it kind? I could probably reframe that so that it's kind. And is it necessary?
Is it necessary is the big.
That's the one that I get caught up on. Is it
Absolutely.
necessary?
Because most of the time, it's probably not.
The majority of the time, it's not. You ask yourself, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said right now?
At this heated moment or at this emotionally charged moment.
Like
It's
you're
right
sitting
now.
around the dinner table. We just had Thanksgiving. How many of you are not speaking to family members after Thanksgiving dinner?
Oh my gosh.
I bet there's,
At least a few.
and Christmas is coming.
Yes.
And you're going to be around that dinner table maybe with those same people that you just had a really uncomfortable interchange with at Thanksgiving. Right. So we're trying to give you some tips and tools and tricks up your sleeve for when you're like set off and you feel a rise in your stomach. Like, I cannot believe Uncle Joe just said that.
Uncle Joe will wreck a party, by the way.
Uncle Joe's been here before.
Yes.
We brought Uncle Joe back. What was Uncle Joe episode 1?
I think it was.
And Aunt Mary?
Yes. Uncle Joe and Aunt Mary.
Cannot believe they just said that.
Oh,
right. My God, my blood is boiling.
And often around politics, and we all know we've got 2 or 3 more wonderfully gigantic, like flaming situations within our political world, in our world in general, regarding political views. And everybody is extremely emotionally charged from one side of it or the other. We all know this. I don't even need to talk about what they are. We know exactly how each of us is, we're standing in the position. When someone else says, well, I really kind of feel like they should have been doing it this way.
Yeah.
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Then, like, if you do feel the need to speak up, which we said sometimes we need to, I don't really believe the whole silence is violence, silence is condoning. I don't necessarily believe that. I think we're very pressured at times to speak up on things and we know nothing about, which is more detrimental.
It helps nobody.
So if you want to speak up, educate yourself.
Yes.
Educate yourself.
And listen to other people, listen to both sides.
Listen, learn, and be able to go sit at that table and have an intelligent conversation where you're not just boom, 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 boom. You're actually laying on some kind of facts, some kind of real, which is kind of hard to get.
Not Facebook facts.
Exactly. I don't know what's slanted today and what's not. 1440, I think, is good.
Reuters, I've checked out. BBC. People who are not maybe reporting in our country. The other part about it, where this is fascinating and why I love that we're talking about it and I want to understand how we can implement it more too, is because there is actual scenarios. We live in a world right now where people even say, well, I'm not going to read back even from the history of what happened because it's not written in truth. I know who think that history is not written correctly in one way or another. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or that they are wrong. However, in this world that we live in where we have just everything is so flammable, it's like having all this dry kindling around. Is it necessary for me to spark that one piece of conversation that's going to set it all ablaze? Is it really necessary right now to do that?
Do I need to do that right now? Well, our little cousin Susie is enjoying her apple pie. Do I need to now throw a match
And
down
Uncle Joe.
at Uncle Joe? Exactly. Do I need to totally annihilate the entire day and dinner for everybody else around me.
Right.
Because I cannot control my emotions. And what I'm so emotionally charged. Listen, maybe later, the next day,
Right.
2 days later, you call up Uncle Joe.
Right.
And you say, dude, like what you said really got me thinking. And I feel, right? We use I statements when we're trying to get somebody to hear us. We never use, you did this, you did that, you're wrong, you're to blame, blah, blah, blah. What's going to happen? Imagine somebody doing that to you.
Right.
How are you going to react? You're going to shut down.
Absolutely. It's an immediate defense mechanism for us to shut down. You're not going to hear anything. And no one's going to hear you.
So you're just wasting your breath. You get yourself all worked up. Most likely they're going to hang up the phone and be like, get that one, right?
Right.
And when you're going to carry it with you, keep it in the I statement. And right in that moment, if you do feel like you just have to say something,
Yes.
I have a few favorite retorts, if you will.
Like go-to.
Yes.
Some go-to, pull it out of your pocket.
Yes. Some go-to statements that you can say is, the first one is, that's interesting.
One of my nephews, I love him. He was here for Thanksgiving, and he used that a lot.
Yeah, he did.
Used it a lot, yes. With our mom. She was totally innocent in the situation, but she isn't always super tactful with how she comes out with words. And he said, wow, that's really interesting.
That's interesting.
It actually caught my attention because I was like, oh, that was a good
It's a good way to just, you're not agreeing, you're not disagreeing. You're giving them a little bit of credit by saying, wow, that's actually something to ponder, right? The next one could be, I didn't think of it that way.
I've never thought of it that way.
You're not condoning. Just because you're saying you haven't thought of it that way doesn't mean that you agree with them.
That's
they're
true.
right. You're just saying, I haven't thought of it that way.
And they feel a sense of validation because most of the time that's all any of us is searching for is to be heard anyway.
Totally.
It really is.
100%.
No matter what, we're just trying to be heard. We feel like whatever it is that we're feeling inside, we're just hoping that somebody, and it's validation, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
We're just trying to be heard. So when you give somebody or a moment the gift of them being heard, it can diffuse the situation.
The more you practice this, the more it will come, right? We're constantly carving these neural pathways.
Yes.
Think, how am I making that person feel? That's how I try to show up in places today. How do I make that person feel when I leave them? How are they remembering me? What's the feeling that I gave them? That is going to boost my self-worth and
Right.
my self-esteem. That's going to make me feel like a really good person more than being right. Much
is.
more than being right.
We
Those
just-
kinds of situations feel good about myself.
Well, because they're longer lasting also. Was it Maya Angelou that had the comment? People are going to remember what you did for them.
Probably.
They're going to remember. Somebody who's a fantastic writer made the statement or the comment that people don't remember what you said or what you did with them. They remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's in every instance. And we have the opportunity every single day, anytime we engage with each other. We talk about this in our show quite a bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we have the opportunity to help bring out the best in somebody next to us. And when we do that, that just expands this evolution that we're all trying to do and move past this super dense, painful state that the world seems to be living in right now.
Yeah. Do you want
We
to
have an
contribute to the division, or do you want to bridge connection? And are you willing to sacrifice what you need to say for the sake of that connection, for that healing energy to show up? Do you want to heal the situation, or do you want to make it worse? That's the checking of your motive when you're about to say, you're wrong. That didn't happen. That's what Ginny's talking about. That's exactly what we're trying to do with our show, with all the work that we're putting out into the world, and so many people are putting out into the world.
Yes.
We're trying to rise above our own egoic self.
Our own fear.
Fear.
You know,
All goes back to
It
fear.
all goes back to fear.
Oh, man.
And it's fascinating that you hear people talking. You see it in a lot of different venues and in a lot of different spaces where people are really attempting. You'll hear people say faith over fear. The mantra's there, but are the actions there? And we forget that our words really are actions because we're able to funnel so much emotional energy into a situation or onto a person with our words. So just because I'm not drop kicking you, doesn't mean that I am not enforcing some type of action with my words.
That's the brutal honesty part that can be very detrimental. And Don Miguel
The Four Agreements?
Agreements.
Oh, so good.
He talks about that, be impeccable with your word. This also speaks to the throat chakra if people are chakra clearers out there. Your
I'd love
throat
to learn
chakra.
more. I do need
This
to learn
is-
more about this.
It's about respecting the word and the power that the word has on the energy of the situation, of the world, of the collective. Whatever you're putting out on social media, whatever you're speaking face to face, whatever you're texting, whatever you're emailing, all leaves an energetic footprint. So we have to be very mindful of that. Another great response is, I don't know enough about that particular situation to talk about it. that gets you way out of it. That gets you, pulls you right out of it. You shut it
I
down
don't know enough to
immediately.
talk about it.
I don't know enough about that to talk about it.
I haven't learned enough. It almost makes it to where you're putting the responsibility on yourself.
It's humble. It's a humble thing to do, to say, I don't know. I don't know. And that brings us to another Buddhist concept that I love. It's called not knowing. Okay. The not knowing concept. So not knowing is just what it sounds like. It's based in humility. And it's basically saying, I don't know what the right answer is. And then you open yourself up to investigation. And by you telling other people, I don't know enough about it to talk about it, I don't know, they might start to consider, do I even know enough about this to be talking about it?
Right.
Right? Because we're constant reflections of each other. Whatever you do and say, I think about myself. If they're doing that, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Whatever.
Yes.
So by taking the not knowing stance, it's very mature. And this really all comes back to, I mean, the immaturity and the emotional selfishness and the entitlement. This is what we're trying to raise people out of. Let your soul rise, all
Yes.
soul rising, emotional evolution, soul ascension.
Yes.
Is getting out of these lower level, very
Ego-driven,
knee-jerk,
like ego-driven,
Ego-driven.
heavier density.
immature reactions to life. Fearful. Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily. It has nothing to do with age, right? Or even the amount
No.
of experience we've all gone
No.
through. You could still have somebody who's 85 years old who their soul is still coming from a place and living from a place of lack or fear, where they feel that they have to be extremely defensive about an idea or a concept because, 75 years ago, it did maybe threaten their security or their life, or they did live through a war, or they did live through whatever the situation was. This work can be done by any of us. It has nothing to do with the amount of time we've been on the earth or the amount of experiences we've gone through. That's not our emotional or our soul age, I guess. That's what we're talking about.
I've seen some 18-year-olds,
Yes,
15-year-olds that have more maturity in their pinky than some 65, 7-year-olds
it's true.
that I know.
It's true.
We talk about this a lot, having like a duty and an obligation to show up this way. If you really want the world to change, if you're saying what you think you need to say because you're trying to affect some kind of change, the true change that you can make and the duty and the obligation that we have as human beings incarnated on the earth right now
Yes.
is to do this work, is to not say what you think needs to be said. Flip side of this. Flip side.
Always a flip
Plain
side.
little devil's advocate.
Yes.
Or you avoid it.
I am. Yes. And that's
Out of fear.
That's 100% something that I know me for myself. I'm someone who's much better about it now, but there's probably many times where I have avoided having or expressing what the true feelings might be.
But you're just not speaking up because you're clamming up and you're scared and you're fearful and you don't want to start a problem. So there's a way to speak it a way that you can get a point across without throwing the match on the Thanksgiving dinner table. There is a way that if you feel that you need to say what you need to say, because you're just one of those people that were put here on earth to be the change makers. We cannot be the change makers without using words. So
No.
we're not saying that you should be like mute, silent, don't say anything to keep the peace. No, we're saying
Think about how you feel.
filter. Yes. And do it in a way that's going to actually make the change.
Yes.
So instead of like not saying anything because you're afraid, you put it through that filter. Okay, is it true? Is it kind?
Is it necessary?
And you know what? I do feel like it's necessary because look at what's going on here. And I was put here to try and be one of these change makers. So I need to say this. So if you can say yes to all three of those questions, then have at it, especially
Yes.
the kind one, right? Especially the kind one.
Absolutely. I think the biggest part, whether we even realize it or not, is forcing yourself to put it through this filter, even with those three things, is that it slows us down. It slows down.
We're impulsive people.
Yes.
We love to just do it. Just do it.
Jump right in.
It feels so good.
Exactly. For a
Patience
moment
also
there.
takes maturity.
It does. It does. And I think that
Sleep on it. Right.
sleep on it, all of those things where, again, we don't think of what the long term, you toss that rock in the pond, how it's going to ripple. We just don't always think about that. So using this very basic, very simple, and I didn't even realize it was a Buddhist philosophy. I love that. I love it. These very basic questions, it's going to slow the momentum down of before we just toss that rock into the pot.
We also say, recovery here a lot. Pause and pray.
Pause and pray.
Pause and pray. Count to 10. Take a deep breath.
Yes.
Maybe remove yourself from the situation. Right? You get the text message. And you're like, oh, put the phone away. Discipline yourself to put the phone in the drawer.
Yeah.
Walk away. Go do something else.
Anything. Just
Anything.
2 minutes even.
Or you get the email and you want to shoot it right back. I'll type it out. Make sure you delete the 2.
Put it in
Take
draft.
out the 2, right? So that does not mistakenly send. I've had that happen before. Wasn't great. I received an email I was not supposed to get years ago when I was living in Manhattan. And although she was right, I think she had a point.
Oh.
It wasn't meant to go to me, and it really hurt. But anyway, type the email, save it in your drafts.
Yes.
Save it in your drafts. Leave it for a day or two. It's going to look different, right?
It
Everything
is.
looks better in the morning.
Feel different.
We promise you, if you do not respond with these knee-jerk reactions, you are doing so much better for the earth and for the world and for yourself
everything.
and for everybody than responding with this impulsive ego response.
Exactly.
But they need to hear it.
On top of, you guys, let's keep in mind that the people that are still walking around, even some of the people you love dearly that are still walking around very asleep, they're in a way looking to get the reaction out of you anyway. They don't even realize necessarily the cycle that they might be creating. They do know, however, if they post this one political thing on Facebook, they know for sure there's 3 or 4 family members that are absolutely going to respond.
Oh my God. They're doing
They
it to get a response. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying. Those people are the inciters.
Yes, they're doing it to get a response and they may not even be aware. That's the thing. And when you don't respond, that's going to cause them
That is going to get them right in the. I really have a potty mouth. I was just going to say something. You guys, you got to figure it out.
in the balls.
Yeah, right.
I'll say it. I'll say it.
So that's going to get them
Yeah.
more by
Yes.
not responding because that's what they want.
They need something
they're
from
baiting
that.
you.
Yes, and it's not because, again, I don't think that every single person on the planet is just this evil human. I think that we are constantly searching for, we've already said it, but validation. We're constantly searching for this validation. It's almost like there's a power in being able to create a storm, Yes, you'll be able to create this reaction out of someone. And
There's even more power in diffusing it.
yes, that's the point. That if you don't add to that flame, that individual is left to sit with themselves and say, why didn't they react? And maybe to question, well, why did I want them to react anyway? We don't have control. As much as I would love to go out into the world right now and solve every war and every disagreement, and I would love to be able to make sense and justify everyone's actions, I know that I cannot. And in fact, every day that continues to go by, if I'm happening to listen to the news or anything else, something worse has happened today. Something even more treacherous, right? But we do have control.
Yes.
We do have control right here, from right here, this little space, what we decide to do. If we can 100% tap into and use to the best way possible what we can do right here, again, the rock in the pond, those ripples are going to go way further than me trying to go, hey, I want that ripple. I want it to go all the way out there in the pond, way out there. Well, that's not going to happen unless you drop the rock from right here. Drop the rock.
Recovery peeps. Drop the rock.
Yes.
So, I was thinking about this the other day. What is happening right now, a month from now, a couple of months from now, even a week from now? There's going to be something else. There's going to be something else, like Ginny said, even personally in your life, right? Somebody does something and you are so heated. If you just diffuse it, send them love, give them a neutral statement. I'm sorry you're feeling that way, whatever it is.
Yes.
Just go on with your day. The next thing is going to happen. And that thing a week ago that you were pissed off about, you're not going to remember. It's not even going to be like a thing anymore.
No.
So think about the long term. This is another mature principle. Take the long view of how am I going to feel if I do this? If I respond in this heated, nasty way,
Yes.
or if I don't? What is that relationship going to look like a month from now, a year from now? And let that be your guiding principle. of
Yes.
what that- and this happens too, not just like collectively, but like personally, especially like I know a lot of people watching us are in recovery and deal with other addicts in our life, right? We have a lot of people in our life.
We're a real hoot. Us alcoholics and addicts. We are a hoot. We're a hoot. I tell you.
And we get sober, some of us, and then our eyes are really wide open to the pain that other people are causing themselves and people around them. And we want to speak up and we want to say something. And rightly so. I mean, many of us can see the train going down the track.
Because we've been on
Yeah.
the track.
Yeah. And
Derailed from the track.
And we feel that we have a responsibility to offer this wellness and sobriety to other people. And you might be right. Most likely what you're watching is detrimental.
Their life could, we all know. I know. We know that you've lost family members to this disease and addiction.
And so painful. So you're trying to avoid that from happening again. And my own personal experience with that is it never worked out well.
When you're offering the advice, you mean?
Yes. If somebody comes to me and asks me for advice, that's when I can give it. Very lucky.
Not just, hey, by the way, I've done all this work and I'm sober, so I'm going to go
Because
ahead.
it comes off as I've been called holier than thou, you're judging me, you think you're better than me, all that kind of stuff. Because when people are in active addiction, they really can't see it.
No.
In my situation, there was a minor involved, and I felt very strongly that I needed to safeguard this child.
Yes.
So I tried, and it did not work out well. And eventually I had to just let it go. I had to just let it go, put that situation in God's hands. I remember when my brother passed away, for those of you who just tuning in and don't know my story, my brother passed away from drugs 5 years ago. And a long time ago, probably 10 years ago, I was sitting with my sponsor and I was crying and I was like, he's suffering again. He called me last night and I want to get him to a rehab. And da-da-da-da. I don't know what to do, but she said, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I'm going to pray for him to get sober. And she said, no, you're not. And I was like, what? She was like, you're going to pray for the acceptance of whatever God's will is for him.
Oh, man.
And that was like, what is she, first, right? What is she talking about?
Right.
Of course I want my brother to get sober. But on my journey since then, and that was about 10 years ago, I have learned that I am not in charge of other people's soul paths.
Boy, and we would love to be, right? Especially when it comes to a situation where we know that they might die.
Yeah, it's like, I have a solution. I have a solution. Just do this. Just please, just do this.
But it's ultimately to avoid it's a part of what your sponsor was getting at, in a way.
Praying for acceptance is almost like a preparation, which works really well for me because if you guys don't know, I'm a pain prepper.
She's a big time pain prepper.
You know, like those like end of the world preppers. I'm like,
she's
I'm
a pain prepper.
I'm like, you know what? See you coming.
Yep.
I'm just gonna prepare myself now.
She wrote a whole book about it.
Yeah, I did. So if you
should go get it.
Yeah, that was writing. That just came out of me.
Yes.
I'm a pain prepper.
I like that. You really are, though.
I am. And this is another generational dysfunctional thing that was passed down or whatever in an effort to protect me and to protect ourselves, right? So I pull some distance and I do what I got to do. I actually have like 60 cans of beans in my pantry, by the way. So I'm also another kind of person.
She's like, I've got the beans, we got Flint, we got a generator, got it all.
I got the Belgian Malinois sitting in the room over there.
Yes, I know where I'm at.
Anybody's coming to get me. No, just kidding. So anyway, yeah, just get a dog, people. Just get a really scary dog. Put the guns away and get a really scary dog. But anyway, the pain prepper, it's a healthier way for me to almost prepare for what did eventually happen.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I still tried. I still tried for a good 3 or 4 years after that to help him and to do this and to send him quotes from recovery literature, program stuff, songs, lyrics.
I wonder too, though, Amanda, and I think about this a lot. We almost have to feel like there's a sense of at least we tried to, right? So that you don't live in this regret.
Exactly.
Maybe
that's what I was going to say next is we try. We say, okay, I see what's happening here and I'd like to help you. If they say, take a hike, you got to walk away. You got to respect that. You got to respect what other people's wishes are for you to leave them alone.
Their path, their journey.
My brother never really told me to leave me alone. The other person I was talking about, the child involved, she let me know numerous times, leave me alone. And I finally have.
Right.
And sometimes I question that. Is that right? Is that not right? But ultimately, I do have to know, okay, I tried. I did the best I could. And then after that, then we have to allow their souls to take them where they need to go. Hopefully into recovery or whatever else is going on in people's lives. Hopefully they'll find some health and wellness.
Right. We don't have the ability to change anyone, by the way, ever. So again, if we're sitting here and pounding into the person, you're effed up again. Oh my gosh, you fell from being sober again. Oh my gosh, somebody had to take you out of jail, again.
That's shaming, and that's going to make them feel even worse.
Well, and the words, coming back to the words, is it necessary? Is
using your words?
Is it necessary to, your loved one who might be going through this because their DUI, he knows.
Yeah, they're aware. They might act like they're not when they're telling you to get lost.
Yes.
But they know somewhere in the back of their minds.
I know for myself too, just because it feels like we're all continuing to lose more and more people to addiction. And as the world continues to feel brutal at times, I feel like people cross that bridge. Since 2020, since COVID, since all of that, it's always been happening. I feel like we've had this escalation in it. So this concept, these principles are really going to come in handy for you, as well as you've got more and more friends and loved ones that are crossing that bridge of they used to be the social drinker and now they're drinking all day long. Keep the same concepts.
Say it lovingly, express your concern. And
Yes.
if they tell you to back off, you have to back off, no matter how bad the situation is.
Yeah.
Right? So like Ginny said, say it kindly, if it when the time is necessary, state your truth, state you're worried. I'm
Yes.
worried about you. I love you. There's help available if you ever want it. I'm here for you.
And leave it at that.
Planting a seed.
Yes, planting that seed. I feel like this same concept applies quite a bit too, because I know many of you out there have a brother, have a sister, have a best friend who's in a really toxic relationship. And you
Yes.
really want to tell
Take
them
this stuff and apply it to whatever's going on in your life right now, because it's so
it's
universal.
going to be universal in just about anything. Or the person who just keeps complaining about the job they hate. I recognized this about myself when I was younger, and I think, again, it was just a family thing too. I think my siblings and I had this habit or way of or survival tactic of let's feed into it and keep the story going. Whether that be difficult childhood, is it kind? Is it? And I'm saying them out of order. Is it true? What is it? Is it
True, kind, necessary.
Kind or necessary? Is it true that I had this hard thing when I was 11? It is. Is it kind that I need to bash somebody who was taking care of me at that time for their lack of being able to do so?
Do I need to relive
Right.
that?
Do I need to
story?
relive it? Or is it necessary now? And some of those person, yeah, it's true. Okay. Is it necessary? Is it necessary for me to?
Probably not.
Probably not.
And a lot of times people do that, I think, to feel closer to each other.
Right.
That bonding thing that goes on when you can
Yes.
sit around and rehash and rehash and rehash. So my therapist had a really good thing she said to me once. She said, I can put the medicine on the spoon and I can hand it to you. It's up to you to drink the medicine. The whole like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
We can present a solution to somebody if we really feel that otherwise they might die or that something really terrible is going to happen. Really feeling compelled to do that. But if they don't want to get out of that toxic relationship, if they don't want to change their living situation or whatever it might be, there's a million things that we think we know people can do better, right?
Exactly.
I know how you can live, but what it really is detrimental. Say it lovingly. Hope that they take the medicine. If not, maybe they took the bottle of medicine, they put it in their medicine cabinet. Maybe
Right.
they'll open up that medicine cabinet again one day and see the medicine sitting there. And because you did it lovingly and with kindness, they're more likely to come back to you and ask you for your help.
Absolutely.
That's
Versus
it too.
shutting down.
Again, the long view. What could potentially be an outcome in the long term?
A lot of the time too, I think when we're handing out advice, oftentimes we're needing to hear the advice ourselves.
Yeah.
Just that idea of projection. And there are many times where what we're trying to dish out or what we think is necessary to dish out is actually something we are trying to teach ourselves. And oddly enough, when that is the case, and you realize that, and you realize this wasn't necessary for me to share with this person, as a matter of fact, I'm realizing this has to do with me. Then when you take the medicine, because you realize it was actually you that needed to take the medicine, there's a really good chance the person who might also benefit from the medicine takes it later too.
Yes.
Because
Be
you've given it
power
to
of
yourself.
example.
Example, action.
Be an example. Your example of living well is going to affect them. Oh, sorry, people. Just a little
it's a little timer.
second there. I don't know what's going on there.
There we go.
Okay.
Little timer action.
Yeah. That was a nice little.
So is it time to run your mouth and say something that's not necessary, loving, or kind? Yeah. I'm like, thank you, iPhone. It's true. So, but you're right.
You being the example of just living that way is going to leave a bigger mark on somebody. They're going to remember that and have your living because you're going to be a safe place now. They
Right.
know that when they need the help, that you are living in a way that is attractive to them, in a way that is, wow, yes, how did she do that?
Right.
How did he do that? So instead of trying to like cram your solution down somebody's throat, the best thing you can do is just be it and live it and don't burn a bridge so that make sure that they know that the door is always open.
Yes.
And I think that's the most powerful thing that you can do.
Well, it is. And the thing is, it's so easy to burn a bridge in these moments where this energetic just flood of words comes out of our face and it wasn't necessary or it wasn't kind.
No.
And all of a sudden we burn that bridge that later on might have been the bridge somebody used to cross to get that help or come to you about something, but we burned it because instantaneously we didn't use
We
that
couldn't
filter.
control ourselves. It's all about self-control and discipline. We do not talk enough about self-control and discipline. That is what this whole life is about. And I was thinking about how we as humans feel very uncomfortable in uncertainty.
Yes.
We want things buttoned up.
Yes.
I had somebody point that out to me years ago, and I couldn't understand what she was saying until about 6 months later, it clicked. I was like, I get it. She was right. I need to know where I stand with people. I am not okay having a relationship that's just hanging out there.
You're not sure what is happening.
I need closure.
Interesting. Yeah.
I need to know everything's okay.
Yes. Or that it's over, not that it's in some
It could be over.
strange
Yeah.
situation.
Exactly.
I love that, and it's fascinating because I come from like serial passive aggression, like passive aggressive situations where it's almost like, no, I don't really need to know. I don't need to know what that person is really thinking. Or
So
I'm not really going to tell them.
You're okay.
But I'm
Not
not.
well,
Well,
being out there. Like, and not actually knowing.
well, here's the deal. I'm
Or
not okay with it. However, I'm going to end up not saying anything probably. So I end up internalizing it. Oh, are you kidding me? It's like in present time, it's happening in a couple of
So it's
situations.
the same thing. Anxiety is still
Yes.
there.
It
You just
is.
might not act on it, whereas
Right.
I usually do act on
Yes.
it. And I try to just keep picking and picking and
I
picking.
need the
and
answer.
Yeah, tell me, talk to me, tell me, stuff like that.
Yes.
That
Yes.
speaks to this whole, is it true, is it kind, is it necessary? When I'm trying to get that closure, right, how am I going about doing that? And do I really need to do it? Is it necessary? Do I really need to have that closure?
For the benefit of everyone, or is it just that you're doing it for whatever piece you're trying to find and not necessarily for the whole?
Yes. Is it selfish? Is it more uncompassionate to not be thinking about their very clear message to me to back off?
Right. And they're trying to not spew words maybe of hatred at you.
Yes. And they think that if I can just shut this down and just avoid
Yes.
her or him or the situation, that's the kindest thing to do. And sometimes it is. So
It's the most humane thing.
I love music. And the song that comes to mind with this is Let It Be by the Beatles.
Great song.
Freaking classic.
Absolutely.
I have to learn to just let things be. I'm learning along with you people. Again, we always
We
say
all
this.
are.
This is
We-
not like from some spiritual hilltop
No.
or some life success because
We're trying
No.
to figure it out alongside with you. We feel like in the world we live in right now, it's very easy for all of us to put our best foot forward on Facebook and be like, oh, great, look at her, awesome. And meanwhile, you're all jacked up from whatever interactions you might have had.
everybody's all jacked up right now.
Everybody
Just
is.
What happened in Israel? We're all experiencing secondary trauma.
Everybody.
If you've seen any of those images, if you've listened to anything that's gone
And-
on, and this is happening over in COVID
And
everything. Ukraine, every major life tragedy, world tragedy.
Yes.
You can hide in your house. You could not look at it. It is affecting you because it's affecting the energy. So
In
we're
the
all
whole-
walking
yes.
around jacked up.
We are walking around jacked up because we have thousands of people leaving the planet. And that's happening too in natural disasters, which is also terrifying. But when it's happening at the hands, and it's not saying one side or the other, you guys. It's not a matter of
No.
that. It's talking about human lives being taken from the earth by our own hand. Like we're doing this stuff to each other as human beings. Like
Yeah.
there's no way you're not going to feel that. No matter whether you relate to, agree with, it doesn't matter. There's bunches of us being ripped off the planet. And that's very challenging. And there's no way you're not dealing with the feeling of that. Everything is just charge. There's a lot of emotional charge of everything. But again, we can't control all of that. However, we can control and we can help try to heal, teach you how to heal ourselves, figure out how to heal these interactions, at least that we're having. We talk about the six degrees of separation, the ones that are right here, because if I can at least, if I can affect this degree, if I'm like Amanda, this is how I'm going to approach the situation. If it's kind, true, or necessary, Amanda might turn around and her next degree of separation to a human being, she might be different because I was different.
Yes. Yes. Like you're in a store. I think about this a lot when I'm out. Like my interaction with somebody could change their whole day.
Right. The
Just
cashier
opening
behind
up
the
door
register.
for somebody. Just doing something kind for somebody.
Exactly.
Or speaking kindly. They could be out there having this terrible day. So we played a standoff. I've talked about Operation Connect. I thought was that Operation Connect?
I don't think so.
So during COVID, it was like December, and it was like depressing.
Yeah.
Terrible. And we went out to run some errands, and I said, girls, we're gonna play a little game. It's called Operation Connect. And what that is, you try to make eye contact with anybody you see, anybody passing you. We had our masks on.
Oh, yeah.
So it was kind of hard to smile. But
Oh my gosh, it was a challenging game you had going.
we had the eye smile down pat down. We were like, You see my wrinkles? We smiled and we waved. And of course, we got two cute little girls.
Yes.
Me. And people smiled back and they waved back.
Right.
And like just something that tiny can lift the spirit of somebody and the energy. I mean, if we're just think about that, how amazing it would be. Here we go in my kumbaya state. But like, if we were all just paying attention to each other and being a little bit more courteous, not even everybody. Listen, you can't be walking around all day long just saying hi. You gotta live. You gotta get shit
There are
done.
some real a-holes around there. Let's be honest.
But those are the ones you gotta try to get even more.
Yeah, it's true.
My kids play, Mommy, I got one. I got two. I got three.
That's
they keep
awesome.
count when we're out. We still do it. We still do it. 3 years later when we're out, they're still playing Operation Connect. And I think that it's something really, really easy and simple to do.
It is.
Out in the world, as you are picking out your apples or you're doing whatever, you can just say, like, I strike up conversations all the time with people.
Yes.
Can you believe the price of this apple cider? Like, what is going on, right? I did not find the apple cider, by the way.
It was so
out.
expensive.
I want apple juice.
Out of control.
Out of sheer principle. No,
It was
do it.
$27.
I'm not doing. I don't care if it's organic. I don't care if you just pick the apple and stomp on it.
especially in the grocery store, you guys, because if we think about this, it's a topic of emotional inflammation as it is. You start talking to anybody about prices of anything right now, people are like, oh, that's right. Yeah. I've noticed too of like, hey, even and mean it. You don't just throw something random out there that you'll mean. But the other day I told this girl had a super cool shirt on, really cool shirt.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I love your shirt. And I said that, yeah, I love your shirt. And she was like, yeah. And I meant it. And she was like, thanks, that's really cool. Well,
That was true. It was kind. It was necessary.
exactly. And I think that even in that scenario where whether it's the person behind the counter, if we can have an interaction, because they're dealing with us all day, all of us grouchy people who are pissed off everything costs too much, what difference does it make if we're able to leave them with something kind that they in turn can turn around and be kind to the next 50 people that are going to walk through that line?
Yeah.
What is that going to do to the collective, even if it's just in your little town? What is that going to do if you were able to share something?
Yeah. And with that woman that we were like commiserating over the price of the apple cider, we were laughing.
Right.
I was like, what is going on? She was like, we were like, what is going on? Like, just happy Thanksgiving. See you later. You know?
Relating.
Created a connection.
Yes.
And it was culture kind of necessary. Right?
Exactly.
I didn't go into a diatribe about politics and this person and this stupid president and this inflation and this.
I've never heard anyone talk like that ever.
No, nobody's saying anything like that.
No, everybody is extremely happy.
So, all right. So we throw out a challenge to you guys
Challenge.
every week. The challenge is before you feel like you need to respond to somebody, of course, if you're in real time, put it through that filter. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And if you cannot answer yes to all three of those questions.
So it's not a 2 out of 3.
No. 2 out of 3. Bad. No, it is. It is
You have to do
3.
all 3.
Uno, dos, tres. Have to all be thumbs up. Okay? And if they're not,
Don't say it.
zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket. Right? Like my kids say.
Zip it, lock it, and put it in your pocket.
Sometimes it doesn't work for me. Sometimes I take it out of my pocket.
And you start stabbing people with it.
My kids make me give them the key now.
Oh, that's smart. They're like, we don't trust you with that key, Mom. We don't trust you with that imaginary key. Better hand it over, lady. Hand it over. That's huge because it's going to give us, again, time. It's going to give you pause.
Yeah. Pause, pray, give yourself some time. Talk to somebody else before you
Great
respond.
idea. Really good idea.
Yeah. Pick up the phone, call somebody that you trust. If you know somebody who's been through that exact situation, even better. Somebody that you respect, somebody that you trust, somebody that you admire.
That'll be objective.
Be objective.
Don't call Uncle Frank about Uncle Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Uncle Frank's just going to slam his ass.
Exactly.
So don't do that.
Don't call people just to get the answer that you're looking for.
Right. Or to pour gasoline on the flame.
To make you feel right. Call people who are objective, who are mature, and are wise, and we'll have an answer for you. Because they might say, yeah, say it, address it, but do it this way. X, Y, and Z. Write about it. Right.
That's what I was just going to say. Write about it.
Right. Okay?
It's hugely effective. I don't do it enough. But it's amazing what you can sort through in your own thoughts and your feelings when you see them yourself in some type of linear.
Yeah. You can get out the anchor. Just write. Just free write. Like nobody's going to see it. That F is true. Blah, 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 blah. I can't believe blah. Make sure you write blah, 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 blah. Yes. That punch you were coming to the end here, right? And by the time you get to the end of it, I don't know, a measure of humility shows up. Some kind of like God shows up. Something happens where I don't feel good
And you're like, I'm a freaking psycho. Wow, I'm really being a little psycho about this because you have a chance to process it. But again, it's in an arena, so to speak, that is not going to cause all this damage that you can't take back.
So let it out, but just don't let that person see that. Also, the email thing, write it, draft it, and leave it. Just let it sit there. Okay? So 24 hours won't change the situation necessarily, but it will change how you see the situation. And then you can still send it if you want, but I guarantee you, you're going to be doing a lot of deleting and a lot of adding other kinder, more neutral things, neutral statements. And questions too. Questions are always really great. When you feel like you need to say something to somebody, ask them, do you think maybe this is happening because of blah, blah, blah. In my situation, that's why I felt this way. Or that's bring it back to yourself and ask a question and then bring it back to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And don't do the question, do you think this is happening because you're a dumbass? It should not be like that, right?
Do you think this is happening because you're grieving or because you're in some kind of pain and I can feel your pain? And do you think this might be happening because whatever it is?
Is there any chance this is happening because
you gotta put some kind of effort into these kinds of conversations? They matter. Yes. If you want to get the outcome you're looking for. Again, so that's why you gotta check your motive. And we always talk about getting very honest with yourself. Really ask yourself, why am I saying this? Why do I feel the need to do this? Right?
It's not always easy to listen to the answer that actually comes out. Not the one that you want to use to justify a situation, but the one that really does rise to the surface, because you will often find that your motives are not kind or true or necessary. And that is for all of us. We've all been there.
Or again, like Judy said before, that it's really about you. That's really about you. Because it's the spiritual axiom. Whatever I see in you, I think I've said this before. Point one finger, you have three pointing back.
Yes.
Whatever you see in them, it's bothering you because there's something going on
in you.
So get super honest about that. Super honest. And I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to have to say anything that you really think you need to say.
No, and it takes practice. That's the other thing, progress, not perfection. You're not going to automatically today just be walking into a situation and like, oh, all of a sudden I'm just good. I'm behaving like great. I'm just all peaceful and all the things. It's not going to happen, and that's okay. But the second you even take one step towards changing the action or how you deal with these circumstances, one tiny step, that's it. You're going to start changing the momentum.
Yep. One step in the right direction. Be patient with yourself. It took you this long to walk into the forest. It's going to take you time to walk out, right? Ooh, don't expect yourself to remember this stuff, to be sitting at the table and, is it true, is it kind, is it necessary? Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? But the more you do that, you might get to that thought in a minute, the first time, as you're sitting there fuming. And all of a sudden it might pop up. Maybe 30 seconds after you practice it a while. Maybe automatically as you practice it even more. So
a little bit like muscle memory.
Yeah.
A little bit like muscle memory. Yeah, totally. But it will start to help you modify and eliminate a lot of those loud, like emotional noise.
Yeah.
We have all this added emotional noise that we are adding on top of just everything the world's already going through. And if each of us can do a little bit to eliminate some of that noise, that's where we're going to make the difference in helping this world be the beautiful place that we know it is.
You matter. What you do and say out there in the world matters so much. And we might say we have no power. We have no power. No. You have a lot of power.
Way more than you even realize.
And if we all just do our little part, guess what? That adds up.
Exactly.
So
thank you for being here with us. Please join us again.
We hope you have a lovely holiday season. Yes. We'll be putting out another show. We're going to be doing another interview with my friend Danielle McCombs and her partner on her podcast, Christy Ollinger. Yes. They're from Opposite of Small Talk. We're going to be talking about how we partner up as podcasters. So they're partners, we're partners, what drew us to each other, why we feel compelled to do this kind of work. And I'm sure it'll be a really inspiring conversation full of connection.
Absolutely.
Which is what we're all trying
Looking forward to that. That's going to be amazing. And as always, we know you guys can be out there listening to so many different podcasts. Yeah. We're so thrilled to have you now on YouTube, and we're so glad you're here with us. And we can't wait to see you again.
If this podcast resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. That's McCoy with a K. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
See you next time. Until then, let that soul rise.